Restore It Ralph channel. This time I'm taking my V6 powered Dodge Dakota and V8 swapping it. Should be fun. Coolant is draining on the 91 Dakota, so that means it's official. I have to start taking this one apart, even though the 5.2 Magnum isn't quite ready to go, but it's gonna force me into it. It's late on a Friday night and it was close to 55 degrees today, so we got a lot of stuff done today. This truck, we backed in here right before dinner and we were gonna call it for the day, but it was warm out today and it's supposed to be not warm tomorrow, so I'm gonna see what I can get done tonight. So we've gotten pretty much everything we want and more off of this parts truck. So my son picked up the extra capacity tank out of it because his is a 4-cylinder truck, so that'll be nice for him. Save the engine, transmission, transfer case, and the harness was my main thing, and we got a bunch of little stuff. So this thing, as soon as I get it ready to be loaded on the trailer, I'm going to load the front of the truck on the trailer and then zip the rear axle out of it, and then this thing will be done. The parts truck gave up its 5.2 Magnum. Starting to clean the engine up, and I'm not gonna do much, to be honest with you. The truck is not very clean under the hood, and so I'm just gonna throw this engine in. I'm gonna do an intake gasket on it because those belly pans always go bad. But as far as making this thing look super pretty, I'm not gonna invest that much time and effort into this engine because this thing is really unproven. And you know what? Having a little bit of a ratty pickup truck that I can go beat on kind of sounds appealing. So I'm gonna get it ready to be reliable maybe and have some fun with it. These engines are known for their intake plenum gasket, which is kind of like a belly pan gasket. It's a steel belly pan on aluminum intake, and what it does is the gasket fails and the vacuum of the intake manifold sucks oil up into it. So that's one reason why I'm changing the intake manifold gasket on this engine, even though I don't really care. But another reason is, look down here, it's all oily and the actual end gasket is pushed out of the intake manifold between the block and here and the intake. So I'm also going to probably replace this PCV valve because if there's too much crankcase pressure build up underneath the intake, it'll push that gasket out. So that's probably why this thing is kind of oily. This is the plenum gasket that these engines are famous for failing. This gasket actually doesn't look terrible. I've seen them to where like they've been sucked in and curved in this area right there. This one looks like it's been replaced before, but it obviously was leaking with the amount of oil that was in here, so glad I'm doing it. After pulling the intake, we can see there's quite a bit of sludge up underneath this engine, and that's okay because this engine's probably here for a good time, not a long time. I'm going to clean up what I can see and put the intake back on it and go have fun with this thing. I got a good bit of work done last night. I was out here till about 2 in the morning because I knew it was going to get cold today. So bell housing bolts, exhaust, and the starter. This thing should be about ready to come out. I need to put the flywheel and clutch on the 318 and it'll be ready to go in, I think. Part of the reason I enjoy working on these trucks is they're kind of easy to work on. Like the bell housing bolts are not buried under stuff. So I think the 2-wheel drive, manual trans, V6 and V8 Dakotas are actually pretty high reward for the amount of work you got to put in them. All right, you ready? Let's try and get this thing in. All right, you holding?
Yep.
I'm gonna push straight back. I'm just gonna try. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
How'd that look?
It went in a little bit more.
Okay.
This crank sensor is gonna hit though, so we're gonna have to be careful with that.
Okay, which way does it need to go?
It needs to go this way.
It's gotta rotate towards you?
Yes.
Can you do that, or does that?
Like that.
Like
that
that?
lines it up.
I might put one of those, if I can get that bell housing bolt started, that'll help keep it aligned. You don't want to draw in the bell housing to the block with the bolts, because if you got it wrong, you crack the bell housing.
Yeah.
Let me try this other bell housing bolt. Let me get that one in.
Then I think it's just a matter of dropping
shaking it around and moving it around.
Because like this motor mount over here, I don't know what your side looks like, but this one looks like it's just about ready to just drop down here.
It might. Yep, that's right. Alright. So now we got two bell housing bolts like started. So this thing should pretty much just like look in place. So we got. Okay.
Well, that is good.
5.2's in. I like it. Good job, thanks. Getting ready to do the first test fire of this. We don't have coolant in it yet. A couple small things to do, but we're gonna try this thing and see if it still runs. It ran a couple days ago in the other truck, so shouldn't be any problems, but we'll see what we got. I'm gonna fire it.
All right.
The coil's not plugged in.
It's not?
Oh, wait a minute, maybe it is.
I plugged it in.
Maybe this PCM's wrong. I'm gonna try it again.
I bet that's a V6 PCM.
I bet it is too. Well, we're going to try this again. The PCM that I grabbed out of my parts bin must have been another V6 one, or that's what I'm hoping. So pulled the one off of my engine run stand that I made for Magnums. I know that was a V8 one, so this should be a better result. Test drive with the 5.2 Magnum 5-speed Dakota, and trying to get the PCM to learn a little bit. When it first started, it was kind of dogging out mid-range throttle, but it seems to be running pretty decent. I'm not sure. We got to go around and look at some stuff on the scan tool and just inspect for vacuum leaks and that kind of stuff, but it seems to be running pretty decent so far. After a few test miles, this thing is purring like a kitten. This is what I love about Dakotas, is we pulled this thing in the shop about 7 o'clock yesterday evening, right before dinner. And it is currently about 4 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. And we went from a V6 to a V8. What's nice about this is the engine mounts are all the same. The engine accessories are all the same. Even the stock V6 Y-pipe bolts to the V8. So this thing was a pretty slick conversion. I've done it before, but I'm happy to do this one again. I got to pick up a PCV valve. That PCV valve was actually clogged shut. Here's the PCV valve out of that 318 engine. You can see it's original. It's got a Chrysler Pentastar on it, but it looks really nasty. It's all clogged up with sludge and whatnot. And when I shake it, it makes absolutely no noise. So this thing is stuck shut, and that is the cause of the intake gasket being pushed out. So glad I replaced that. If nothing else, the V8 swap was worth it for the sound alone. After about 50 street miles today on the 5.2 Dakota, I'm going to call it complete. It's running great, and I probably will take the scan tool on it and just double check all the parameters, but there's really no need to. It's running pretty good, and no leaks, no stumbles, no noises. Everything's good. As far as cost goes for the swap, I had to buy a $100 flywheel off Rock Auto for a 318 5.2 Magnum Ram truck. I had a new clutch on the shelf. I actually need a clutch probably in my 42 Ford truck. It feels a little soft, but it's still working, so I robbed it from that project. And then besides fluids and other miscellaneous stuff, I really don't have a whole lot of money in this swap. One of the reasons the swap went together so quickly is because the wiring in this truck is actually out of my 1995 Dodge Dakota that I used to have. It rotted to the ground, so I parted everything out of it. It used to have a 5.9 with the 5-speed in it. When I got rusty, I swapped the 3.9 V6 back into it and used it as a winter beater. So this harness was already modified to have the two injector connectors to the PCM, and a friend of mine and I did that probably 17 years ago now. So it was a very reliable swap, and so that made it plug and play when I went to put it together this last time. I am excited to have a V8 manual Dakota back in my life. I really loved my old 95 truck, and this is not the greatest truck in the world. This one is just a tribute. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to keep up with all the projects on the channel.